What's up, everybody? So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than what I normally do as far as posting, but something that is going to probably become a bit more regular for what I post here. And I am going to be reviewing a sword that was handed off to me for this purpose by a friend of mine who just picked it up. Now, this blade is made by a company called Battling Blades and is advertised as battle ready. He spent roughly $200 on the sword. It is a rendition of a Templar Knight's bastard sword. And I'm going to kind of give you guys a rundown on some things that I notice as a sword and knife maker. And we're going to start off real simple on how some basic construction of the blade, things that are just surface level, and we'll give it a review and whether or not I think that the blade is actually battle ready. Then we'll go through and actually put the blade through a couple of tests to see how well it holds up to certain gentle tests at first, and then we'll work our way up to things that would be more appropriate for a sword that is meant for fighting with to actually be able to withstand. And as a counterpart, I have one of my own swords here that we can use as a standard of measurement, if you will, that I do know for a fact is a battle quality blade, something you would actually take to war in those times, provided you could afford it. So let's get started. All right. So first things first, here is our sword, right? It has a leather sheath and it has a little belt loop, decently constructed, that's tacked on. Now the first thing, if anybody's noticed yet, it is missing a piece, okay? You notice it has this up top and it has that same piece has been broken off. He just got this on today. The day of this filming is the day he actually has received this, and it showed up missing this piece. But what this missing piece is able to tell me is that the inside of this is cast. Now, the one thing that I want to make sure of is how strong is this handle? Because the strength of your handle, your crossguard, and your pommel together have a huge part to play in using the said sword in a battle situation. Now, first things first, let's get a rough idea of what it might be made of. Over here, I happen to have a magnet. Let's find out if this is a ferrous material or not. It is most definitely not ferrous. It is not steel. It's either aluminum or something of a similar grade to aluminum. That to me right away says I would not trust this handle in a fight. Should it be struck with something significantly stronger, say like a hand axe or a club, or you're trying to catch a stronger sword, it may fail. Probably will fail. So I'm going to say the handle right now, right off, not battle ready. Let's check out its blade. Here's what we're looking at for a blade. We got us a real nice pattern welded blade. They advertise at 352 layers based off of an 11-piece billet. And which at the moment I don't really have the patience to sit down and try to figure out what layers are to what and count that out. I'll go ahead and give them the credit. It is a beautiful pattern on the blade. So now I want to look at the edge geometry of this. Advertised as sharp, so is it sharp? Well, no, not really. I probably have steak knives that are significantly sharper than this sword. But the one thing I am noticing in this grind, you hear that? Probably not. Now, something you can do on your grinds here to find burrs, take a fingernail and it catches. There's a burr right there. There's a lift in the metal. And it goes all the way to here. So from here all the way to here, there's a lift, and it is on both sides. That will impede your cut to a degree, not a noticeable one, but it is not the best result. It is not a desirable result. I'm looking at the edge geometry of the blade here, and it seems one side is ground at a little bit steeper angle than the other. Okay. The other thing that I don't know if this camera will pick up so well is that the blade is not straight. It looks straight, but when you're looking down the blade, there's a bend here. Right where my thumb is, there's a bend. Okay. Then up here, there's a bit of twisting. Almost as though this blade has been beaten already. It is well oiled to prevent rusting, which is something that you should do with any high carbon or handmade blade at any point in time. That's that you should oil it. Try to do as little touching of the blade itself as possible. If you do, clean the blade and oil it. You don't need much oil, but oil it, it protects it. Our point here is a little uneven, right? And the grind subsequently is also a bit uneven. The other thing I want to know is how flexible is the blade, right? It has an uneven flex. This side does not flex to the same degree this side does. So that's another problematic something. My first take on this sword would be, no, this is not for combat. This is not something I would go to war with. I would hang it up on my wall. Definitely, it's very nice looking. The way that they've cast the handle and assembled it, it appears like the pommel is threaded on, or it screws on, and then was glued in place. And I say that because where I'm at, if I had a better camera, I would show you. Where I'm at, I can actually see the adhesive. I can actually see the glue. It is pushed out the sides. It was not totally cleaned off. So some of the designs that are on here are pretty nice. The size of the handle, the mid of the handle is a bit hefty. I don't exactly have small hands. I don't have the world's largest hands by any means. But it is a bit hefty for, say, the average person's hand. Decent hand and a half grip. So in wielding the sword, it's not bad. The fuller on the point here, or towards the point, is a bit off center. If you can kind of make that out. And it doesn't have a very even width on it. Those are definitely marks of a handmade blade. So the blade itself, I could easily say is handmade. And as far as I know, this is the first real video review of a blade by Battling Blades. And unfortunately, I'm going to say this Battling Blade sword is not ripe for combat. This is not something I would want to go up against another person with. It's bent, it's twisted, it's dull. The handle is kind of soft construction. The material that's used, I feel like if I flex it too much, it will stay. Like the temper was a little off, but that happens. I would not fight with this though. Now, as a comparison, I will bring over a blade that I have that is made by a company called Windless Crafts. It is a recreation of a Viking longsword. Okay, so here's the Viking Longsword by Windless Crafts. Here is our Templar sword by Battling Blades. There is obviously a size difference, right? But let's take a look at Windless Crafts and see how it compares, looking at some of the same features. Now, the pommel on this is fully peened. So this is actually, this little square here, you can kind of see. I can get it to focus in on it there. This little square here is actually a part of the blade itself. Has a wood scabbard, not a leather sheath. A smaller crossguard, not quite as much hand protection, but let's see what they're made out of. Here's our magnet. That is made of steel. So then let's see our crossguard. Our crossguard is also made of steel. So these materials that this is made with is a bit tougher than what Battling Blades has. It has some copper fittings, a suede handle, and a wood scabbard that I have tied a feather to. So let's check out the blade now. It is not a pattern welded blade, but this is significantly lighter than our Battling Blades sword. Now, first things first, is it sharp? It is decently sharp. Feels like one side a little more so than the other. Will this make a cut? Yes, it will definitely make a cut. Especially right up here. It's very sharp up here. Down here, not as sharp. Am I going to catch anywhere with my nail? Not catching. Okay, so there are no burrs on my edge on this sword. The flex of this sword, okay, I'm holding here and I have a light grip here, keeping my fingers away from the cutting edge. Don't do this way if you can help it. But that's quite a bit of flex. You're probably not very likely to break this sword. I would feel much more comfortable taking this style and this style build into battle than our friends over here at Battling Blades. Does this have a beautiful blade pattern? No, this is just a regular high carbon mirror finish. It is not, doesn't have the pretty pattern that the other blade has. But I would say this next to the other, this is a much more battle quality sword than the latter of the Battling Blades, which they've kind of let their name down, I feel like. But looking at the blade quality, the way that the pattern is made, I definitely feel like they have the potential, and I would not be surprised if they do offer some blades that are definitely battle ready. But there are some other things, some other critiques on the sword that I would like to make. On our edge here, our grind is relatively unreliable. It's kind of steep and does not come into the bevel of the sword here. The cutting edge coming into the bevel is a little harsh. And the blade is a bit thin, and it does not seem overly stout. So our next video, or next part to this review, will be to actually test the sword as a sword would need to be able to withstand for, say, actually fighting. And I have been given permissions to be fairly mean to the blade, but to avoid breaking it. So that is what will be coming up next in our video. So drop me a comment about how you feel I did on this very light, very gentle review. If you think there's any sort of thing that I may have missed, or you yourself have a version of this blade that you feel is better quality, by all means, let me know. But this particular blade, I feel, is a touch underachieving. And for something that is $200, that's not necessarily terrible. But like I said, this would look much better on a wall. It would be much better served on a wall than in the hands of a combatant. I feel like a slightly better made sword even would probably damage this quite readily and fairly drastically. So there is my review of the Templar sword by Battling Blades. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would be happy to post more of these, and as I said, my next video will be to actually use the sword to try to make some cuts and do a little bit of a flex test and things like that. And if at all possible, a video after that on how to maybe upgrade the sword. So I hope you guys got a kick out of this video, and by all means, follow the page and drop me a like or a comment. See you guys in the next video.